Hey there, I'm Marvin, and welcome to Buddy Up Gaming. Terra Invicta is a deep, demanding 4X strategy game built around a fascinating question. How would humanity actually respond to the discovery of a hostile, technologically superior alien force? It's an incredible experience once it clicks, but it's also a monster when it comes to complexity. If you or your kids love strategy games, but need help getting a handle on Terra Invicta's many interconnected systems, be sure to check out our comprehensive beginner's guide linked in the description. This video, however, is for players who enjoy diving straight into complex systems, learning how they fit together, and experimenting with different strategies. We're focusing specifically on which nations make for the strongest early game foundations, and we'll walk through 4 opening approaches that can carry your momentum well into the mid-game. With the current release patch, the USA is arguably the strongest nation to control first. It starts with the highest research output at the start, fields 6 powerful armies you can later use to conquer additional nations once your control point cap increases, and maintains a large nuclear arsenal you can leverage if the aliens ever decide to land ground forces on Earth. Ironically, despite its strength, the USA is also one of the easier major nations to secure early on. Controlling its neighboring countries, Canada and Mexico, provides a massive 6-point bonus to both public campaign and control nation missions. The downside is that owning all 3 countries heavily strains your control point cap. Once you've secured your 4th control point in the USA, you'll need to abandon one of those neighboring nations to stay under the cap, and you'll drop the 2nd after acquiring your 5th control point. A high persuasion counselor makes a huge difference here. Traits like opinion leader or media darling are especially strong, since their persuasion bonuses apply directly to the USA and Canada. Another excellent option is recruiting a counselor who originates from the USA and upgrading them with the National Hero trait. With the right setup, it's even possible to stack multiple persuasion boosting traits on your starting counselor. I've linked a Steam discussion in the description that explains how to mod the game so it believes you're located in the USA. By enabling the fellow citizen counselor option, setting their profession to activist, and using that setup, you can create an overpowered counselor for this setup. China doesn't start quite as strong as the USA. Its initial research output is lower, and it fields fewer armies that are also weaker by comparison. That said, with a few years of focused investment, China can transform into an absolute research powerhouse that easily dwarfs almost every other nation. Securing China is also more involved. Unlike the USA, you'll need to capture a larger number of neighboring countries to maximize your mission bonuses. Taking Nepal, Myanmar, Laos, North Korea, and several of the Central Asian stand countries nets you a 3-point bonus. Adding Pakistan increases that bonus by another half point, and if you also manage to secure Russia, you'll gain an additional full point. The setup is more complex, but the long-term payoff can be enormous. A fully unified European Union can rival and even surpass the USA in research output. But how and when you form it matters a great deal. France begins the game holding all the claims required to create the EU, making it the natural starting point. The peaceful route to unification involves taking executive control of an eligible nation, consolidating control, and then unifying it with France. Some countries, like the United Kingdom, do not start federated with France, which adds an extra step. You'll need to federate the 2 nations before unifying them. Rival factions can complicate this further by withdrawing countries from the Federation or downgrading alliances. Each of these diplomatic actions triggers a cooldown, meaning the full process, allying, federating, and unifying, can easily take over a year per nation. The far simpler approach is conquest. Once you control France, rival factions that hold other EU nations will often leave the Federation after consolidating control. At that point, you can rival them, declare war, and absorb the country into the EU through conquest. France starts with only one army, which isn't sufficient on its own. However, if you delay EU formation until after securing a military powerhouse like the USA or China, the additional armies they bring make conquest straightforward. This delay can actually work in your favor. While you're increasing your control point cap, rival factions tend to invest heavily in boost and mission control in their EU nations. By the time you begin conquering Europe, you'll inherit a surprisingly strong space infrastructure as a result. India boasts a larger population than China, which means it technically has an even greater long-term research potential. Realizing that potential, however, takes decades of sustained investment. India's low GDP per capita leads to high instability and limits how many investment points you can meaningfully allocate toward knowledge early on. To stabilize and grow India effectively, you'll need to prioritize both knowledge and economy, while also periodically running counselor missions to reduce unrest. This makes India a slower, more demanding start. It's also harder to secure India right out of the gate. It lacks non-rival neighboring nations, limiting your mission bonuses. At best, you can achieve around a 3-point bonus by controlling Nepal, Myanmar, Bangladesh, and Bhutan. For most players, India works best as a second major nation, much like the EU, rather than as an initial foothold. Once you've developed a solid understanding of Terra Invicta's systems and picked up a few wins, I highly recommend trying a challenge run where you deliberately avoid taking any of the major nations we've discussed so far. In these runs, you'll want to look for countries that offer respectable research output, while still having the potential to form larger federations later in the game. Two excellent candidates are Japan and Indonesia. They sit in the top 10 in research output, and both can unify with neighboring Asian nations once you've unlocked the great nation's global technology. These starts are tougher, but offer an incredibly rewarding experience. Choosing the right starting nation in Terra Invicta can dramatically shape how your campaign unfolds. Whether you opt for the raw power of the USA, the long-term potential of China or India, or a self-imposed challenge start, each approach offers a different path through the early and mid-game. I hope this guide helped you better understand your options and gave you the confidence to pick a starting strategy that fits how you like to play. And once you've locked in strong opening and feel comfortable with the game's core systems, that's a great time to start experimenting with more advanced approaches, like the Jupiter Rush, where the goal is to secure the best space resources before the aliens can, and start turning the tables much earlier. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, consider giving it a like and subscribing to Buddy Up Gaming for more family-friendly strategy guides, reviews, and deep dives designed to help you and your family tackle even the most complex games together. Take care out there.